afternoon, everybody. I want to welcome everyone to the Finance Committee's Oversight hearing on Food and Drug Administration's Foreign Drug Manufacturing Inspection process. This committee has an obligation to ensure drugs paid for by the taxpayers, whether it's Medicare or Medicaid, satisfy quality standards and are safe and effective for patients. Second, besides taxpayer concerns, this committee has jurisdiction over trade, and we have responsibility to guarantee only quality pharmaceuticals enter the United States. That responsibility, both of Congress and the FDA, is heightened now that we're living through the COVID pandemic. Whether we're in the midst of a pandemic or not, these supply chain issues must be shored up and solved. Starting June of last year, I began oversight activities on this issue. I wrote letters at that time to Secretary Azar and Acting FDA Commissioner Dr. Sharpless. I asked a series of questions relating to manufacturing facilities overseas that manufacture final dosages for drugs and active pharmaceutical ingredients. And I'm going to refer to active pharmaceutical ingredients throughout the day as APIs. I also asked about the Food and Drug Administration's managing its foreign inspection regime. The Government Accountability Office has said that the FDA does conduct some unannounced inspections overseas, but they don't have data on the frequency. However, Government Accountability Office noted in 2019 that the FDA estimated that they generally provided 12 weeks of notice before the inspection. So simply said, FDA then is undermining the ability of field inspectors to do their jobs. 12 weeks, common sense tells me, is plenty of time to doctor up a facility to make sure that it passes inspection. Yet, incredibly, some facilities still get caught. That's how bad it is. And we have to do something about it. The end result is that the consumer is put at risk. According to the most recent FDA data, the United States has 46% of finished dosage form facilities. That's where API are turned into final form, such as tablets. That means over 50% of the sites manufacturing finished drugs are located outside the United States. But that's just part of the story. What we really need to know is, where did the API come from? According to the most recent FDA data, 13% comes from China, 19% from India. Combined, that's more than any other country. And overall, then, more than 70% of facilities that make APIs are located overseas. These figures, coupled with the COVID pandemic, have garnered a lot of attention, including what might need to be done from a national security standpoint. But the figures do not make clear what needs to be done about a drug safety perspective. We need to have a robust and aggressive foreign inspection program. Now, with respect to China and India, both those countries have had serious quality control problems. We all remember the valsartan recall, where that drug was found to contain contaminants used in rocket fuel. Facilities in China and India produce that drug. So we should not also forget heparin, and that's a scandal all by itself. In that case, patients undergoing dialysis began to have severe and life-threatening side effects because a manufacturing plant in China introduced a toxin into the production chain. Hundreds of people died and hundreds were sick. And then we have Ranbaxy, an Indian manufacturer. Ranbaxy's production chain exposed drugs to potential cross-contamination by penicillin and used APIs from facilities that were not approved by the FDA. That company also manufactured Lipitor and was shut down because it could not explain why some of those tablets had pieces of glass in them. I fear these examples are just the tip of the iceberg. They show why the FDA must maintain an aggressive inspection regime to ensure drug quality, but at the same time also impose a strong enforcement regime on bad actors. In February of this year, FDA Commissioner Hahn told me that in fiscal year 2018, the Center for Drug Evaluation and Research issued almost 5 times as many warning letters to human drug manufacturers as compared to 2015. He said that's a sign that FDA is better able to use its resources to identify problems. Now that's very good. Stay aggressive and don't hesitate to be more aggressive. On the front end, though, that process should include unannounced inspection overseas. After all, why would we give manufacturers time to prepare their facilities for inspection? They ought to be looking over their shoulder every day. That would keep them honest. During the Obama administration, the FDA started what was called the India Pilot Program. It allowed for no warning inspections or couple days worth of warning. Under it, the FDA issued a 60% increase in what's termed official action indicated findings. In 2015, the Obama administration shut the pilot program down, and I believe that there was no explanation of why. It sounds like the program was a victim of its own success. Now, this issue is a very bipartisan issue. Republican and Democrat administrations have come up short. The Government Accountability Office has a body of work from multiple administrations that prove that this is bipartisan. For example, both Obama and Trump administrations have struggled to fill vacancies in foreign offices. So that brings us today, because what I've just said is what we found out over a year or more of investigations without hearings. Today we have witnesses from the FDA that can speak to all these issues and how the pandemic has impacted their work. On the first panel, we have FDA witnesses and a Government Accountability Office witness. On the second panel, we have private sector companies. So I thank all of you for being here. It's important to note that I plan to follow up with another hearing soon, examining another problematic aspect to our medical supply chain, specifically the increase in trade of fake and faulty personal protective equipment. That is separate from what we will discuss today. In closing, I want to say 2 things. First, thank you to FDA officials that work tirelessly to inspect facilities overseas. Second, regardless of party, we must have an honest discussion of the government's shortcomings so that we can better understand what we as Congress can do to ensure drug safety for the taxpayers. After all, we work for them and must always answer to them.